right back. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to a very special episode of Found Footage Fridays. Every episode of Found Footage Fridays is special, but this one is even more special. And I'm back with my co-host, Mike and Serial.
Hey, listeners. Happy Friday. Hope you guys are having a great one, and hope it's even better now that you're listening to us.
Very cool. So at the time that we're recording this film is not out yet, but it will be very soon. But tonight we are joined, well, tonight for us, it looks like it's still daytime where you guys are. We are joined by some filmmakers that were involved in the project, found footage, the making of the, oh my God, Mike.
Patterson Project.
That's it. That's it.
You know what I've been calling it this
Teamwork
whole
makes the
week?
dream work.
You know what? Thank you. I need to just let Mike run things. In my defense, it's been a very long day here. I've just been calling it found footage Bigfoot literally all week in my head. I was so close to saying that, and I literally froze. I was like, oh my God. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
See what I mean? Super casual.
I love it.
I'm so sorry. I promise. I got the rest of it. So anyway, we're joined by 3 filmmakers involved in the making of the Patterson Project.
That's right.
So I'll go, I guess on my screen it's left to right, but you guys can just kind of wave if you want.
Yeah.
But we're joined by Jacob Souza.
Souza.
I didn't get him into
close enough.
So close every time. And then in the middle, we've got Max. Say your last name again for me, Max.
Zanis.
And then David San Miguel on the end. That one I got.
Perfect. Boom, boom.
Yeah. So to get kind of started before we jump into, very specific film things that we want to talk to you guys about, we wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to talk about your roles in the film, kind of how you got to be involved in the project.
Sure. I'm Max. I was the director and co-writer with David.
I'm David. I was a co-writer. I did some music on the thing and kept the good vibes high.
Hi, and I'm Jacob, and I did the cinematography and editing.
And together we're actually, we have a company called Dirty Shot Clean. So the reason we got involved with the movie is because we make all our movies. We just make everything together.
Very
and that
cool.
happened, started like what, seven years ago. We started making
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Short films and then now feature film.
And now feature films. Have you done anything else found footage before this one?
Have we done anything else found footage?
First found footage.
First found footage. There's like a found. This is it. Yeah. This is it. Yeah.
I'm always impressed when people say that. I'm always like, what? How is this the first?
We did a documentary of my grandfather, which was in some ways, I'm not a found footage movie at all, but at least it was.
We did self-tape.
Self-tape involves
an
actor filming himself for. It's not found footage. It doesn't work. Yeah. No, we haven't done that.
So then what made you guys think of doing found footage?
The reason so when we are deciding on like what project we're going to do, it's a very holistic sort of thing. And I think found footage was like a layer of that. What we were kind of drawn to, because we've done so many little short films together, and then we did a feature film that's actually another one that is coming out next month, as funny as that sounds. The experience of being on set is something we just know really well, especially on like an indie level. If you told us to write, something for like the studio or something, it would be make-believe, because we have never worked on a studio movie. But we certainly know what it's like to have like very little money, be in a room like this and try to shoot, a short film or go out to the woods, try to make something. So we had that. And then we knew, basically when you're on set, everything's going wrong, right? So that's like a fundamental thing. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah.
And we knew that like, if we could crack that idea with a horror concept, we might be onto something there. And the horror concept essentially was like, if there really was a evil presence that was torturing a set, let's say, that was actually trying to do us harm, I think we would probably just chalk it up to the chaos of being on set.
Bad luck.
We would ignore it. we would shove it down and we'd be like, how do we get our next shot? So I think fundamentally we're like, okay, I think we have the bones of a movie here, right? Because these characters, I would do all the things in the movie that you guys have seen. It's hard for me to say that I wouldn't have done most of what the guy who's not the most likable guy by the end of the movie. I probably would have been that guy who's like, you can't do a location move. What are you talking about? It's like, well, like, I don't care. we got 20 pages. So that was there. And then the found footage aspect, I think, came from in order to introduce the number of characters we wanted to, we kind of felt mockumentary was necessary. And when mockumentary becomes horror, it probably becomes a found footage movie.
Yeah.
That was the concept, I guess.
So it was a little meta thing.
Yeah.
And it's also,
It's
for what
great.
it's worth, easy to shoot someone with a camcorder as opposed to an entire like legit crew.
Oh yeah.
Unless you're one of the guys in the movie who did not know how to do it.
Exactly.
Oh, I died. I laughed.
That was my favorite scene. Like, I had to pause the movie because my
It was super
laughing
funny.
was, I was never going to stop. And so I had to just, like, if I wanted to see what else happens in this movie, I have to pause. It was so funny. The comedic timing in this movie, and then just a lot of the subtle humor and then the in-your-face humor was so perfectly blended throughout the movie. And sometimes it's hard to keep a horror comedy blended well with horror and comedy. And I think you guys did a great job at that, because when it is a horror movie, it's a horror movie. But throughout the entire movie, you don't forget that it's also a comedy.
That's great. That was a huge concern. It was just so, I think there was concern. So you guys have seen the movie already, of course, but it certainly leans more comedy, I think, than your traditional horror comedy. And I think that, that's scary, right? Because one thing that's nice about horror is that you have certain elements that you can hold on to. In this movie, it had to be funny right away. It had to be like, you had to buy in with the characters initially. Because we didn't have we don't have a kill in the first 10 minutes. That's not a spoiler, but we don't have one, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I didn't want to do the thing where we cut ahead and we see someone get killed so that do we have the permission to have your attention for the next 20 minutes while we try to, do the thing. It was, it felt like we wanted to just earnestly play it totally straight, really fun characters who enter a crazy situation. And ultimately their aspirations become their downfall. That was like the goal.
Yeah. I think it was crazy well balanced, because I definitely am super hard on comedy horror. Like, it's not typically, there's only like a handful of them that I genuinely enjoy. But I will tell you, I think one of the things that appealed to me, aside from the Bigfoot part of it, which I think is probably obvious from the poster and that kind of thing, is that I'm a big lover of cryptids, but I also really loved the found footage movie, Found Footage 3D. And that's a very different than what you guys did, of course, but it was a very meta way to make a found footage movie. And I liked that this was very similar in some instances, where it was like we love it talking to indie filmmakers. We've done other indie filmmaker interviews. And so getting to kind of see this take on what it would be like to make one, because that's always been fascinating to me. I'm sure Mike feels the same way, because I know filming found footage, especially because you're coming from an indie side of things, budget wise, resource wise, it's not the same thing as filming in like a third person narrative. So it's very different. And so it was very cool and very funny. I did laugh. I laughed at the same part you did. And I have another one I'll bring up in a little bit. That's not spoilery. That's funny. But I thought it was hilarious. And I couldn't believe I was laughing as much as I was, because I went into it not even reading the description. Like Mike was like, hey, we got an opportunity to do this screener. I was like, cool, I'll reach out. And then this kind of I was like, well, I'm just gonna watch them. I just jumped in, didn't know anything about it.
Because like she said, this movie checked a lot of boxes, because I knew she was gonna jump on the screener immediately, because I was like, it's mockumentary, it's about Bigfoot, it's meta, like, and we're just like, yes, we love all this. We're ready to go. And it really did do more than what I thought it was going to do. So I was very happy about that. Like we said, the comedy was throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
And there were just so many good moments. You mentioned about there's a character that doesn't end up being the most likable character, but you had so many characters that had such a great dynamic to them. And I believe was his name Chuck?
Frank.
Frank.
No,
But Chuck Frank.
For some reason, we knew who you meant.
Totally knew.
I don't know why.
It just works. Well, Frank, like as much as he doesn't become the most likable person, he was still very captivating. It was still everything you want in the person that's kind of like heading this movie. And then everybody else, like there was just great smaller roles that really shined with the comedy. I did like the cast a lot. I think everybody did a great job. There are two people particularly that did a great job, and when we get to that, I'll let Angel take the lead there because I know she wants to talk about it.
I was like, wait, which two are you going to pick? And then you said that. I was like, oh, okay, I got it.
But yeah.
Yeah. And I guess one of the things I specifically wanted to talk about, just because I was not expecting the effects to look this good.
Oh, wow.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. Obviously, we are used to low budget found. We have made the best out of some very raw found footage films in the past, but the gore and the stuff when the shit really starts hitting the fan, I could not believe how good this looked. And so I kind of wanted to pick y'all's brains and talk about like, where was this on like a practical level versus how much editing had to be involved in some of this? Because some of the scenes where there's gore, it's very dark. Sometimes you know what I mean? So just kind of hearing what that process was like, because God, I mean, it just looks so good.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was a, you make a low budget horror film. You just never know like how it's going to turn out. There's a lot of praying and there's a lot of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? And I think we got lucky in two ways. One is our grip was also a VFX guy. So
nice.
Yeah, that was really helpful. So he got us, I'd say like 80% of the way there, which was huge. And then we were able to get the rough cut over to a group called Radio Silence. I'm not sure if you guys are
familiar.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
We know who they are.
Yeah, they're awesome. And they really resonated with the movie, and they hopped on as executive producers, and they were the ones who helped us with some of the most impressive effects. They took it from like maybe a 7, and then there's a specific effect in the movie that they are pretty good at.
We were just talking about this before you guys got on.
I'm not gonna say it, but I was trying to figure out how I ask about if that was influenced by them or not, because I was like, they have a calling card that a lot of people know. And I was just like, I saw their name attached to this project.
It's like, huh?
And I saw something in this movie, and I'm like,
totally.
I need to find a way if I can ask about this.
It's so fair. I mean, it's not, and no one will know who it is or whatever, but we just looked up to them already. It was like crazy. Like there were filmmakers we already looked up to, and we just happened to be able to get the movie to them. And then they hop on as executive producers, and then they make the movie better too. On top of that, with specifically what you guys are talking about, the VFX, they had a team come on and just give us a layer of polish, and a lot of credit already to Phil, our grip, who there's some effects that are totally untouched from him. But then some of the gore in the third act that really like kind of took it to the next level. That was this group called DNEG, who happened to be working on their movie Abigail. So that's how we were able to get that little
okay.
So that's how you get a little extra polish that I think otherwise you guys would have been like, look, when they were the way they were before, it was just really funny.
You would have been charmed, you would have been like, because you're like, oh, look at this little low budget movie.
I'm sure that's true. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, it was fun. It did the job.
It did.
Like, oh, okay, yeah, I see. Whereas now it's like, damn, that looks.
Now it's like you would never expect in a movie that is like we've been holding our punches, for so long, for it to go all the way there is like it just feels so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a pretty big way. Like when it starts to go in that direction,
Right.
it just I mean, it just goes. And I think one of the things that played well with that was the mockumentary element because you did the mockumentary element, we're getting used to people and what they're doing and who they are, and we're getting attached to certain characters, laughing at others, this kind of thing. And then it's like, and then it obviously it shifts gear, like I don't know, maybe like halfway. And
Yeah.
then so it's just the reason I think that all of that, like we love found footage formulas. They work for a reason, right? And one of the most common ones I think is we have this exposition heavy, I remember the word this time, Mike,
Yes.
exposition heavy beginning.
Yeah.
And then we have like, and then it's just, you know, bananas all the way to the end. But I think because the mockumentary element is so strong in this, it never felt really that way. I didn't really think about it until after I'd watched the movie that, yeah, majority, we kind of build up to the story a little bit slower in the beginning, but it never felt like that. It just felt like we were just waiting for the next thing and we couldn't wait to see what that was going to be.
That's so great. Yeah, that's the goal. That's why we thought we wanted to make the movie so that if there were no scares, you'd actually kind of enjoy the movie. It was still going to be a fun movie, right? So that was like in that first act, particularly, which is when they're trying to put the movie together. I think if you have people laughing in that first act, they're just going to be along for the ride because we haven't even kicked. There's none of the, they don't go to the location until I think 25 minutes into the movie.
It takes a minute. Yeah. It takes a minute to get there.
And there's no indication that there's no like it scares. It's just characters and they're trying to, and there's deals that have been made and there's things that they have to.
Oh, the deal.
It's very strictly a comedy up until
it is. Yeah.
I will say the opening scene. So that is like our version of like the scare at the beginning. I think someone was equating it to that. It gives you that sense of something foreboding will happen, but it's done in like an earnest way where you just feel like it's you're gonna be watching someone really trying to do something, and it's just like one of those really hard days. Which, as far as that character is concerned, that is what's happening, even when it's.
Even when it is like seriously the fan, that's what he's
really
saying. It's like
stuff happening.
We got a lot of problems happening right now, man. It's like, you're about to die.
And I really hope people do go in as blind as possible with this movie because even knowing like obviously if you look up IMDb, Letterboxd stuff, it is going to label it a horror comedy, so people are going to assume there's going to be certain elements to this movie. But like you said, from the beginning, if you don't know anything going into this movie, you're like, this is kind of just a silly mockumentary. It's kind of like the pop star movie, like the found footage movies that are not horror. And you're like, oh, okay, this is just like a spoof on movie making. And you guys did such a good job at like spoofing the filmmaking process.
Yes.
And then when things start to get a little bit more ominous, it feels one way. And then the movie turns completely different. So I think you go through this trajectory of like, you don't know what subgenre of horror comedy you're gonna get until it happens. And I really like that because again, I like the more vague synopsis that this movie has. And then if you don't know much going into it, you're kind of taken aback by the time you get to where it is. You're like, I did not see a lot of this coming.
That's great. There's this one scene. I won't say any of the details, but I'm hopeful you guys will kind of remember it just based off of me alluding to it. There are two characters that meet for the first time. And it's a meeting that is really important because the whole production is riding on this meeting. Okay.
This is my favorite scene. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, well, I love the scene too. And what I like about it is that on one side, you have a character who is playing a character. He's an actor who's playing somebody, but he's very much born out of the first third of the movie. He is part of the mockumentary. He is grounded in, I need to sell this person that I'm a different person than who I am in order for this production to keep going. And on the other hand, the person he's going to meet is from the last third of the movie. That is someone who is in a found footage movie, and they don't even realize that they are dealing with the problem right in front of their face, basically. So you have, where is the part where the two movies kind of literally shake hands with each other?
Yeah. Oh,
like, cool,
I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, honestly, we just watched it. We have to do this little thing, so we just watched it again, and we hadn't watched it at home, just the three of us in a while. And I was struck watching that scene. I was like, oh, this is a horror comedy. This is like the scene where it is a horror comedy. Yeah. Anyway, go for it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's the scene that I was alluding to with an Angel was because we both enjoy that one. That's one of her favorite parts. But I told her, I was like, yeah, that whole interaction had me.
I was dying,
laughing so hard.
I was dying, and I was watching it like in my room. I was work from home, so I was like watching it here. It's literally where I'm sitting, pretty much, with my like work computer not working, and I was watching the movie, and there was things where I was laughing so hard I had to like stop and explain to my partner why I'm over here laughing.
That is awesome.
Like, what are you watching? What is so funny? Like, what is it? You know? And I'm like, let me just try to explain it, because one of the things that I think does typically tie comedy and horror is they're all about timing, both of them. So the reason that they work so well together is because they are both all about the timing, and the timing on these things. The moment like he realized that the person holding the camera didn't even have it, like I was just in stitches. I was like, oh no. I was like, this feels like real life watching this unfold, because he's like, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? He's like, the whole reason we picked you was because of this, this, and this. And I was just dying. I was like, oh, because I've talked to other filmmakers who have had really bad days on set and and I'm just thinking, I'm like, this is reality. I'm watching right now. But I did have to explain why I was laughing, because I did laugh a lot. But that scene in particular, deceased. I was dying laughing. It was so funny. And I couldn't, and I thought it was so funny. I couldn't even feel bad for her for being kind of strangled, you know? So I was like, but it's just so funny. And I don't know. I love that. That was definitely my favorite. That's
your favorite scene? Oh, I love that so much.
Well, at least probably on the comedy side. I do have another favorite scene, but I definitely won't say what that is.
Sure.
Just for spoiler purposes, because it is in the later half of, or the later part of the movie, and probably the third act. But yeah, this was my favorite, like funny, like got me. Couldn't stop thinking about how funny it was. Yeah,
that's so cool.
Incredible.
What's cool about that too is we never like really say what's going on with her in that scene.
No,
we never say explicitly like this is the case, you know.
No,
but every time the audience knows what what is going on with her. It's I just think that there's this, like, when she's walking down those stairs, man, I just crack up every single time, and I've seen it a million times. It's just so funny. She's crossing her eyes, you know. She's going
like, and it's like the adjustment of the wig got me too. That's like it's just this like putting on this like persona to go meet this person,
like
and
people in their own plays meeting each other, thinking they're meeting someone who's not
someone else,
like someone genuine, that they need to. It's just such
hilarious.
A funny,
yeah. I'm glad you dig that scene, because that was
one of my favorite. I think it's my favorite.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Something I always like to ask, especially dealing with indie horror films, because what we always like to tell people that we interview or talk to when we're talking found footage in general is the found footage community is very forgiving for a lot of things, because we know that a lot of found footage is micro budget, small budget, etc. So sometimes like the acting is not always great, or effects might not always be like top tier kind of thing. But in this particular case, when it comes to the cast, they were so great. So I always like asking the filmmakers, what was casting them like what was how did it go? How did you know when you found the right people? Because I do know sometimes these are people that you already knew, and sometimes it is a casting call. So if you guys can just kind of explain that a little bit.
It was a little bit of both. I think we had worked with some really talented actors in the past that I don't know if we like immediately were like, it's this person, but as the casting process went on, we were like, it's going to be this person that we know. It's going to be.
Trust was a big part of it. Like,
sure.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you guys know, there's a lot of improvisation in the movie. So there's a lot of like, we really looked at Christopher Guest movies and how they were written.
Okay.
So our first pass of the script was like 60 pages long, with only every scene would just have a few lines of dialogue, but we just kind of write the action in there.
Sure.
And then we had a panic attack like a week before, like it's not funny. So then we wrote all the dialogue in. But the way we shot the movie was we did first take on book, second take, let's go a little crazy, and the third take, let's go absolutely wild. And we ended up using a lot of that absolutely wild stuff, like the scene with the camera, like the holding the camera. That was one line in the script, and it ended up being a 2.5 minutes. Yeah,
it was a longer. Yeah.
And that was so. What that required was having actors who could do that thing, which is acting in a scene. So, are you guys? Where are you guys based, by the way?
I live in Georgia.
Chicago.
Chicago. Oh, Chicago. Second City. Do you ever go see like improv or anything like that?
Sadly, I have not.
Oh, it's all good. Improv shows are really interesting. I think they're fun to watch, but I always get the feeling that everyone wants to be the funniest person in the scene.
Yeah.
You know, and that always makes me feel uncomfortable because I feel like I have to, laugh for everybody because they're all trying to be the punchline. Yeah. When you're making a movie that has improvisation and we watched like what's Spinal Tap and stuff like that, you notice that there's a lot of characters that are not playing the joke and they're actually just playing the tension of the scene, what their character is trying to get, and they're just organically saying lines that are believable. It just so happens that they're really funny people.
They're also funny.
Exactly right. So I think I got to hand to this guy because he was the casting director on the movie.
We just did our due diligence. We hopped on backstage.
Okay.
Saw like there's every kind of flavor on backstage, which is great for a movie like this where you're looking for like some quirky people. And then we whittled it down to the people who were quirky, but also brought like an earnestness to their character that you would believe this actually is like a real person. And then the audition was hilarious. We gave them, because it was so heavily improv based, the audition was like a questionnaire that as your character, you're applying, auditioning.
Oh, that's cool.
Answer these questions, and they got like more and more ridiculous. So we're like, how much will these people actually play with us once we're like on set? It ended with like, describe your ideal partner. and so it was just like, what's your job title? What's your aspirations as in your job, in this career? Ideal partner or whatever. And so the people who just had the most fun with it and like just like went with it, we believed and just gave us a chuckle, we called back and we found our cast, and it was awesome.
A lot of them really resonated with the script too, because they've been in those situations before, so they were really excited to like add a lot. They were excited to like, this one time this actually happened, and then they would put it in the scene, and it would be like it would be funnier than anything we could come up with. So that was a huge debt was owed to the cast throughout this entire thing, like all the way up and down. Like at the top, you obviously have like Brendan kind of holding the thing down, just being believable and someone that you're rooting for, but then you're not rooting, that kind of tug and like push and pull kind of character. But everyone from him all the way to like some of the smaller characters, everybody was so game, like just to try every joke, and they committed 100%.
Yeah.
It was cool.
And it worked so well because the chemistry was great amongst everybody. Like I said, the comedic timing, and now knowing that a lot of it's improvised, like they are just very quippy and hilarious because, again, there was throughout this movie, again, it may not have like been all horror, all comedy, but it was never dull from start to finish. So like we talked about the formula of like a lot of exposition, then batshit crazy.
All the crazy. Yeah.
But you're never bored and just waiting like, can we get to the good stuff? Because the comedy was getting you through the entire movie, the likable characters, those really funny moments. Like I will honestly say the camcorder scene of him not knowing what he was supposed to be doing is one of the funniest things I have ever seen. Probably like I have been equating that to like how I was laughing when I first watched My Cousin Vinny for the first time, because that has so many of my favorite comedic moments, and that made me laugh just as much as that. So you guys,
thank you. A big one for that was I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this is Spinal Tap, but the scene, there's a scene where there's an amp that goes to 11, and he says, and there's basically just, it's a classic like back and forth that like anyone who's seen the movie, it's like this one goes to 11 scene. That's like the thing. And we just wanted to have a scene like that. So the idea of having a guy cast as a cameraman who doesn't know how to hold a camera just felt like that's the opportunity for that scene. And then the actors absolutely took off and did something we never could have guessed. I mean, every time we watched that scene, we laugh every single time.
It was so unexpected to me. I was not, and then it just kept going. And then he started having his ideas, and I'm like, this is just so funny. Like, I cannot stop laughing. So kudos to you guys, and then kudos to the actors, because again, that scene is probably just gonna live rent-free for quite a while, be my personality trait for quite a while. So thank you guys for that.
Awesome.
That's awesome. We'll pass the word along to JR. He's JR Gomez. He's the
young guy.
That played the camera guy. Yeah.
He's so funny in that scene. And
Yeah.
Brendan, by the way, the other actor, got genuinely mad during that scene.
Yeah.
He was so in character, and he was like, this guy, oh, come on. Yeah. And I think a part of him, and this is totally peeling back, he's like my best friend. He wouldn't mind me saying this. He was worried that JR was overplaying the scene. He was worried that he was being too silly, too cartoony. And I was like, I don't know, dude. I think he's being really funny. And
I think it works.
Because he was genuine. You look at his face and he's like,
he's
like utterly confused.
Like dumbstruck look, like, what do you mean? And it's like,
bro, we showed
that you don't understand what's happening right now.
Right.
Yeah.
We showed Brendan the rough cut, basically, and it was the full 2.5 minute scene in there. And I was like, what do you think of that scene? He's like, don't touch 1 second of that scene.
It's
the funniest thing in the whole movie.
Yeah, I'm glad he thought so too, because that scene was perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And it's funny because it doesn't push the plot forward. It's not like, it's just a funny scene. And and it's funny because Angel, I think you said that you're tougher on comedies. Yeah. And I wonder how much of that has to do with the fact that we're just not fed as many great comedies these days there's a lot of great horror movies out there. I feel like that horror is just like pumping out. Meanwhile, when I don't know how old you guys are, but when I was growing up, comedy lived in the theater. Comedy was like the place you went. Independent. Napoleon Dynamite came out. That was the funniest movie ever made until Superman came out. Until all, it was a communal experience. And I'm not sure if we've like totally lost that or what the deal is, but I think we as a team have we want that back. So that was a little bit, there's some of that in this movie for sure.
Yeah. And I think part of it too is probably I think David said, making sure that these people felt real or believable. And they all feel, even the people who don't have any lines or aren't in front of the camera the whole time, they all felt very lived in. Their reactions to things felt genuine and realistic. And I think that that's another reason the comedy works, because you're not being sold a bit, you're being sold a situation. And if the situation is believable, right, then that makes the comedy more effective. And just like with the scares, it's the same way with the other side of it too, is it has to feel like you're not watching something. It has to feel like a real situation. And I think that and to be honest, just to kind of touch again on how lived in they feel, I felt so many things for so many different people in this movie. The beginning, I'm rooting. I'm I need this filmmaker I need him. And at the end, I could not care less. Could not care less. Once we got to this specific scene, I was like, I don't care if he makes it out of this or not. I don't care if he ever finishes another movie. And then there's other characters that maybe for, in the first half I wasn't so drawn to, that as things changed and circumstances come up, then I'm suddenly really focused on this character, really wanting good things for them. And so I think that that's another reason the comedy works. I realistic humor. Maybe I'm learning this about myself as we're talking about it, versus silly humor. And a lot of horror comedies lean so heavy into the silly, and I just can't do it. It's just not my cup of tea. So
I'm in the same exact boat. It's the playing it straight thing, not winking at the camera, completely playing it straight. Crispin Glover, which is he said you should always play comedy as drama and drama as comedy. And I think that for me, that really resonates from a comedy perspective. If you play a comedy scene in a dramatic way, when Chase is looking at the Bigfoot suit prototype for the first time, and he's trying to work with this thing, as opposed to just going what, doing that. He's trying to okay, so is this like, this is not the mask, right? This is the material. He's trying
to rationalize, like,
yeah. Right. Because that's what I think that because I think for whatever reason, when something terrible is happening, I always laugh. Like if something really bad is happening in my life, I laugh. If you hear me laughing, that probably means I'm crying inside. Like really,
Oh, no.
yeah, for real. It's just my response, and I think that is part of what like that impulse to laugh through like the hard stuff is something that I seek in movies as well. Very serious situations for these characters, but we get to laugh because we're on the outside of this thing.
On the outside of it, yeah.
Exactly, right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that totally works. I could not believe. And I'll even say this too. I don't even like normally when people are like, "Oh, we improv." Like Creep was improv, and that's like the bane of my existence. And so I was like, I hate this movie. And so and Mike knows anything even remotely close to Creep, I'm gonna be like,
we are very opposite. I think that's what works so well for our dynamic.
I've accepted it.
I
I
actually would love to hear your Creep review at some point. I haven't met someone who was like really against. Like I've met people who are like, but like.
No, I hate that movie, and it's so funny because back we don't have like a voiceless presence on Twitter anymore. We left Twitter and I use the other one, but. When I was on Twitter, I had specific people that would, no matter what I posted about, it didn't have to be found footage related or Creep related. They would post that GIF of him dancing in that stupid wolf thing. Me, it became this like well-known thing of like, oh, Angel hates this movie. Like, let's find ways to bring it up and talk about it. So, not a fan. But so I was laughing on the inside when you said that, that you did it that way with the improv, and I'm like, man, a testament to what Creep could have been if because that movie's improv too. I think pretty much from start to finish.
I actually didn't know that.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
I think in fairness, this one's probably like 50% on book, and then
right.
50% around the text. That would be so. It's not like that classic, like, okay, you guys have a situation, go. Right. We had like that roadmap, and the idea of just like a straight up improv movie where you're just going, that also terrifies me too.
I actually was even more irritated after I watched the movie because I was like, and you didn't put any effort into writing a script. That was so I'm telling you, this movie irritated me to no end, irrationally so. And I know I'm alone on my little anti-Creep island, and it's fine. But
she is. She really is.
You're like making it clear.
Yeah. I love that. I want to
have
a strong opinion about Creep. That's so funny. Yeah. That's really funny that also of all the movies to have a meme that like taunts you for that image just kind of disturbing. Yeah. God, that you gotta hate that.
I hated it so much. I don't have it, thank God, on any of the other ones. But it's like, but for some reason I had specific friends that knew, and they would always on Twitter, always like random out of nowhere. Sometimes on old posts, they would just do it. Like if they just thought about it, and I would get these notifications, and it would just be the stupid, like, oh my God, I hate that movie. Anyway.
Are you talking about it right now? Is that safe for you to do? Or are people going to like
blast you with this stuff? Yeah.
I know that'll be in the comments for sure. Well, and like I said, and Mike knows this about me, like I am absolutely cool to have conversations with anybody about anything. So that's stuff, it doesn't bother me that I'm alone in my thoughts on Creep, because I definitely, every other person I think I've ever done content with puts it in very high regard, and I'm just like, nope.
Yeah. So, I liked it. I liked it. Yeah. And by the way, I have a pretty particular taste with horror movies personally. So I'm tougher on horror probably than I am on comedy. So, and I like. Yeah. I think for horror, the tough thing for me was I was a scaredy cat as a kid, So I like, even if a horror movie is like not actually it hasn't really earned a scare, I'm still gonna get really, really scared. So then I kind of feel a little like jerked around by it,
Yeah.
So that's why it's really important to me that I care about the people who are dying, because then at least I'm like, okay, now I'm bought in. So that's me. But these guys are like absolutely, especially this
horror,
one over
here.
Horror.
We like horror.
We like horror.
All things.
That's how we balance the movie out, a little bit.
That makes sense now that you say that out loud. Yeah.
He pushed the third act particularly, which I'm sure has a scene or two that you're probably like, yeah, that scene was cool. He pushed. He was like, there were certain times I was like, and that's the scene, and you get it. You know, that's like the end of the movie. And he's like, no, come on, man. Like, they've been waiting the whole time for something to happen here.
I've been waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need this.
All right, fine. And then, cut to, and then we write another scene. So it's a good push and pull. I think that's what's cool about working collective is like we end up with something in between all of our tastes that hopefully is like better than what we could do individually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it does, like we said, it checks so many boxes and so many different things that have not been pushed together.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the things that makes it kind of all cohesive, is it's like all these different things, but because you're introduced to so many different things up front, it just makes sense. I like that though. I like that only two of you are like really, really into that's like our whole life, but that's
Yeah, I'm getting more into it now because I'm now directing apparently horror movies, so I have to be related.
Apparently,
that would be an interesting job title to keep if you were just like, no, I don't really, I'm not into that.
No, I've gotten more into it, but I think that the I'll always be like, they always make fun of me whenever there's a scare coming. I just start like going like I just
flip it up.
Yeah.
We're still like, do you want to come see this like new horror movie that we're all excited about?
Like,
He's like, go ahead and check it out. That's literally what you're doing right now.
Oh no, I got
I got my wife.
Oh, I got to work out.
I can't do it. That was gonna be if you're like, see, and I feel like I'm the total opposite. I'm at a point now where everything bores me, and I do mean like Mike is unfortunately has to receive my text messages when I'm like, what is, like, I turned on a movie the other day and I was like, I sent a picture that was on my TV and I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Like, I'm so quick to be like, not, and to be fair, the other side of that for me is like, horror doesn't always have to be scary anyway. So I appreciate that there's multiple levels to it, but the stuff that's supposed to be scary these days so rarely is. Like, I think it's because of too much consumption. I really think that's what it is.
I think we have such a balance the way that you guys saying that you do, like, two of you love horror, one of you doesn't love it as much, but you're getting into it. Our balance is like, we've said she's a little bit harder to please when it comes to horror, and I'm the easiest person to please when it's coming to horror. Like, the movies and everybody in the horror community that I am friends with all will say the same thing about my questionable taste, because they're like, not every movie needs they're not all good, and that's okay. I'm like, you know what? They tried, and as long as I'm slightly entertained, I'm happy. Like, just don't bore me. That's all. That's my only gripe with horror. You can be bad. You can't be boring.
You can't be boring.
That's a very good point.
That's so, and I appreciate that you're looking at it from the people who try it, because every movie is a miracle. Like
that's true.
So it's nice to know that there's people out there who have that. Who are like, I just, I want to see that you tried to entertain me. And if you did, I'll give you that thumbs up. That's nice to know. Because I think there's a lot of people who, you work really hard on something. And we were just talking to somebody else and they're like, a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into a movie. And then they hear, the reactions like, yeah, it's okay. It's like, I would prefer your reaction to Creep. I'd rather hear someone say your thing sucks. And you know what? I actually hate it. I'll remember how much I hate it. Like you left an impact on somebody,
I think that's true. Yeah, I definitely. This would have been a weird conversation. Mike would have had to lead it if I felt that way. I don't think if I felt that way about any movie that I do about Creep, I could ever fake through the conversation. I don't think I could do it.
And I think to what you guys were saying, like with artists, creators in general, I think the main thing that scares them the most is not negativity, it's indifference.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
We got a negative review on our movie, and we were like, you know what? Let's go. Publicity. Eyes on our movie.
I was just going to say, because there's so many people who have gotten more views because of someone's negative review than positives. And then people are like, I don't know what this person was talking about. This was great, but I only saw it because this person
went and said that it was bad.
Yeah. We just want to shoot our shot and exist. That's like the thing. It's like, and like, I just want to, first of all, I believe look, if I thought the movie was actually like kind of crappy, then I'd be like, okay, well, maybe we don't need to shoot our shot right now. But I genuinely believe in the movie. I think it has something fun for people who, whether you know about filmmaking or don't, I think that these characters are just funny and people are going to laugh at them. And then if you're into horror, I think that it will get that little frosting for you as well. So there's that element. But also, we spend a lot of time working on this thing. Like, I would rather get a review from Roger Ebert that's a half star than no review at all. I just want to feel the feedback. It makes it more real, and so that's why we're like, we're excited. We're just stoked to be talking about the movie with people. It's exciting for us. It's super exciting. And I'm glad that you didn't hate as much as Creep, but even if you did, I'd be stoked about that too.
That's a very low bar. And I consume so much found footage, and I think naturally, right, like found footage is typically a little harder to find like the gems, right? Because it is low budget and it is limited, and sometimes it's one person and a camera, literally. And so I've watched a lot of found footage, and it's one of only 2 movies. And honestly, I at least have respect for this movie. The other movie, Mike knows which one, I don't even have respect for. But this one, I at least can be like, you know what? They made this, they improv this entire movie and everybody loves it. Like it has things that people are drawn to. And I think regardless of whether you like a film or not, you have to acknowledge that. I think that's what we try to do. We try to be, we've had some times where after we've done an episode of Found Footage Fridays, we're like, that was hard, because especially because we do tend to try to focus more on indie creators. It's very hard sometimes because you want to be positive, because you want them to be successful, and you want other people to also feel that it was a positive experience. It's never fun, but I just believe like we have to be honest. It's not good for, you see these people on TikTok and they just love every movie they watch. And I don't mean you, Mike. I just mean in general. You do have movies you don't like that you have rated low, but there are generally people where you look at their stuff and everything is like a 10 out of 10. And you're like, you're just, I don't know. Like, I feel like the honesty is more beneficial for everybody involved.
Well, the honesty also is what is going to get that person, because we've made crappy stuff. We made short films that sucked. I mean, we made a short film that we won't even show anybody, and it was like something that we put a lot of effort into, and we watched it, and I was like, this is a flamer. This is a
oh no.
But and the saddest thing about that short film is it actually was meant to be a proof of concept for a feature film we wanted to make. So we're like, not only is like this short film no longer like, was this a waste of time, but it did nothing to help us for like our big dream, which was the feature film. But the reason that helped us was because we had like it was reality. Like you want the reality of what the response is. You don't want like people just to be,
inflating your ego and telling you something that is false.
Yeah. And it's cool that I respect you a lot, actually, for being, if you are able to
hard.
be.
I really just want to come on all the time and just talk about all the indie projects that we watch or we get access to, and it's just like, I had a different, somebody else used to do Found Footage Fridays when I first started doing it. And he just wasn't able to keep up with content anymore. And he was like, so nice. And he was, but afterwards, like there were times where he was like, I don't know, maybe I didn't really feel that way. because you try so hard to be positive, because you do believe in the community so much. And especially when you love horror as much as we do, it's hard, but I just feel like it's better. I think I've, unfortunately, in association with also being known for really loving found footage and horror, I think people have just come to understand that I don't like everything I watch. And that if everybody goes to theaters and sees something and loves it, I'm probably going to hate it. Like that's almost, and it's not to be contrarian. I just have very different things. I've been watching horror my whole life. Like, so it's just very funny because those people are like, yeah, you probably won't like this. Like I can't come up with movie recommendations for you because I don't know what you're going to like. And so I've kind of, unfortunately, but I think it just comes from being honest, because I do like a lot of stuff. I really liked this a lot. So.
Right. And I believe you. You just never know, because like maybe the fact that you're willing to say that you don't like something to the filmmaker potentially, or at least not be completely totally showering praise, it legitimizes when you actually do like something. So I can imagine that if as people who are following you, they probably appreciate the honesty, because then they'll want to go check that thing out.
I think Mike just finds it funny at this point. Like I'll say something because I feel a certain way and he'll just go, He'll just start
I do. But the thing too, though, is like one thing that we do like and what we do champion on this show is that everybody's going to have a different opinion, and that is a-okay. It doesn't need to
totally fine.
lead to telling someone that their opinion is incorrect, because
they're not a real
that's not a
horror
thing.
fan. That kind of stuff.
It's not a thing. And again, we like your movie. I think you guys are aware. Some people are not going to. Some people, this is going to be the best movie ever. And some people are going to write the craziest reviews that have nothing to do with your movie. And
yeah. All we can do is make the movie that we wanted to make. And we did that. And I'm like, we're so proud of it. It is my favorite maybe movie. It's in my top.
You should, you should definitely be proud of it. Yeah.
And that is the tough thing, is like, because when you finally reach the audience, you've already written the script, and then you did the storyboards, and you did this whole thing, and then you have to, like, you finally show them the movie, and then you want to go back to the script and be like, did we actually get the thing from the script to the screen? And even though the scenes are a little different and all that sort of stuff, people really liked the scripts, and I think it was because it was so wily and weird and all and wacky and crazy and all that stuff. But then when you make the movie version of it, things are going to change. But I think the intention of it was there, and now the reception will be what it is. People will like it, people whatever.
Yeah.
You have to there have been movies where it wasn't that way, and I read the script, I'm like, damn, there was more potential in this thing, and why did it end up like that? You know what I mean? So I think we squeezed all we could out of this one. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I did want to talk about, I don't think I said it when we started recording. I did want to talk about release. So by the time, I believe, if I'm right, from what Mike told me, this is going to release by the time we're recording this next Friday. So I think the movie will already be out, but we wanted you guys to have a chance to talk about the release.
So it's available to pre-order now, which was the past, but I hope we got your pre-order at that time. It's going to be it's in theaters June 20th, and then available on Apple and iTunes on June 24th.
Okay, quick.
Yeah, it's we only have like one weekend there. It's playing for the full week actually in theaters, but then it's going online.
That's selection.
Okay, so by the time this is out, it will be streaming. It will be on Apple.
It will be streaming. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then we always like to ask as well, do you guys have any other projects in the works that you can talk about, or that you want to talk about? I know you mentioned something about like now being a horror director. Are you doing more horror movies?
We got a couple. We got a cool possession movie that we're really excited about. That is
love possession.
Very fun. I think that seeing some of the movies that have come out in the possession space, like that's another let's just put it this way. That is a subgenre of horror films that feels like it's ripe for a subversion. So
I didn't even know what you were going to say, but I knew I was going to agree with it. Totally.
It's time to do something with it.
It's the same stuff every single time.
Yes.
So tired of those. And I know like we all love Russell Crowe or whatever on like a moped, but like how many of these do we need? Like stop.
Yeah. I totally agree. And by the way, The Exorcist, for someone, I'm not number one horror. Exorcist is one of my favorite movies ever. So it's like, I get it. Like, this is like an awesome, this is cool. This is a cool formula to have, but you can do other things with this. And full disclosure, this was a script that was brought to us by a really talented writer who's their roommate. He's actually like 2 rooms over right now. But it's just a really cool script, and we're in the process of getting it made, and I think it's gonna do kind of what we did with the found footage genre. I think that has a chance to do it with the possession, with your possession tropes, exorcism tropes.
Oh, that's exciting because I am over it. That and like pregnancy horror, over it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Over it.
You want to see a hand come through the
I'm
bed?
good. Like I watched, what was it, Immaculate and The First Omen?
Yeah.
And at the end of both movies, I was like,
And again, the balance, I'm here for all of it. I'm here for all of it. Give me more.
Well, he did get me on a good found footage pregnancy horror recently that we covered on the channel.
Oh, cool.
That was really good.
That's great. Well, good. I'm glad that you guys agree on some things.
Yeah, we both really liked this. And we were both really excited to talk to you. So we got that in common, I guess. I think we make a great duo.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. You guys are awesome.
Oh, thanks. Well, cool. I think the only other thing I wanted to at least ask about that we haven't talked about yet is I did want to kind of ask, like, with this story coming, and now that I know this, especially with the story coming to you as a script, and I assume like you'd have to kind of tell, like, I guess kind of tell me more, but with that, like, do you have to is it just ideas? Is it, and then you have to flesh them out? Like, how exactly does the writing part of that go?
Well, this has been really great because he is a great writer. So he brought us a great script, fully written script right off the bat. So we were very enthused by that. And then I mean, anyone you talk to, I'm sure in the film, like writing is rewriting. So he comes on with us. We have our thoughts. He's got to go back and rewrite it. Then we bring it to agents and managers. They have thoughts. Yes. So it's a constant slog. And that was one of the cool things about this movie because we made it so cheap, found footage. We wrote one version of the movie, finished it, and then we wrote kind of like a second version with lines. And that was it. And we just went out and shot it with Possessed. The movie's called Possessed, just so you know, but that's with an exclamation point. With that movie, because it's going to be a little larger in scope, we have to go through we got to get yeses, and we got to, I got to go out there and shot, with my shiny shoes and go sell it to people and get a more significant chunk of money for it. But fortunately, this movie has given us a little bit more infrastructure because it has had a very positive reception. So we've been able to, we're lucky enough to get some representation who believe in the stuff that we're making.
Oh, yeah.
So we're hopeful that the next time we talk with you guys, we'll be talking about a little bit of a bigger movie, but that still has the same DNA of this movie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you guys are welcome anytime. So definitely we'll be talking this new movie with you guys, hopefully. We wish you nothing but the best because, like we said, we loved this movie. So we already can't wait to see what comes next for you guys.
Awesome. You guys are awesome.
That's incredible.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having such great questions.
Yeah, it was fun chatting about it all. It's fun to remember, go back in time. Remember why we love this.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot about it because I was very like into it when I think Mike, you pitched it. Did you even tell me Bigfoot? I don't even remember. I think you did. Did you pitch it to me as Bigfoot?
Yeah.
And that was kind of what started the whole thing. But I'm really glad that I didn't go into it with any like preconceived notions. Like I did know it was a horror comedy. I would have immediately had this weird apprehension. But this was very, very refreshing. And I genuinely found footage 3D is one of my favorites because it is an homage to found footage movies and filmmaking and what that's like. And it's just very cool. So I haven't really felt that intrigued by a found footage concept since that movie came out. And it's been out for a while. And so when I got through this, as this mockumentary turned into this crazy stuff that happens and what they're trying to accomplish, it's got, like we said, all the check boxes, right? I was like, that's the feeling I got. That was what it reminded me of, was what it felt like to watch found footage 3D and at the end of it go, they get it. They understand. They understand found footage. They understand me. They get it. And so it was very cool to go into this movie that I knew nothing about until Mike got the opportunity rather to do a screener, and he sent it to me and we talked about it. It was so great to go into it that way because I didn't know anything, and so my expectations were very flat, and then it was very, very refreshing. So I just wanted to compliment you one more time before.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you both. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Oh, thanks. We enjoyed having you guys. That was the robot.
We weren't a robot at all.
No, yeah, we appreciate you guys taking the time to speak to us about the movie. It's been a great time. We did enjoy talking to you guys so much. Again, we'll keep saying this. You're welcome back anytime. If you guys want to come on for anything, just let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. We'll come join you guys. We'll do a review all together.
We should do a creep. We should do a creep.
Creep watch. And just get a camera close up on your face, Angel.
The whole time that I'm like,
we can do the creep tape, so it's a whole series she has to do.
I love it.
And we'll get Duplass on the Zoom call.
Oh my God. I got some things to discuss with him for real.
Dude, I love that guy.
I'm up for the convo.
I love that. That's awesome.
Y'all are
thank
incredible.
you guys again.
Of course.
And thanks everybody for hanging out with us on this very special episode of Found Footage Fridays. The movie is out now by the time you're seeing this, so no excuse not to check it out, watch it out. If you've already seen it, if you got to actually see it in theaters, we'd love to know. Leave comments and let us know what that experience was like and what you thought of the movie. Otherwise, I think that's all we have for Found Footage Fridays. Thanks for hanging out with us again. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy your week coming up. And Mike and I will see you in the next one. Bye.